I know we haven't been here for a while. It's been a couple of weeks because George, our technical director, also co-host, hasn't been able to make it happen. But that's okay because we're on now. And if you would do me a favor, if you're watching now, we'll officially start the show in just a few minutes. But we'd love if you could share this link. This could be a really important show. Now, maybe you don't live in the Phoenix area or even in Arizona. Our show is going to be about Proposition 105, which is an extension of light rail. But our guest is Jeremiah Cota. He's going to be on in just a few minutes. This is really important, I think, though, too, nationwide, because this stuff is happening in other cities as well. And while, light rail certainly can work in some areas, but it's not a modern technology anymore.
It isn't. Not at all.
So please watch. Give us your thoughts. Maybe you live in a city and you know some of the horrors or the good things, too. It's all right. We have some good things that actually have happened, and we're not knocking it totally. But you'll find out all about that here in a few minutes. So we appreciate it. We're also, Chips and Salsa Show exists because we want to show that we are Latinos who support our president. And we're about Trump 2020. Just because we're Latinos, and Jeremiah is Native American and Hispanic, it doesn't mean because you're a minority that you're not a conservative, that you're not a Republican. So that's a lot of reason why this show exists. So we'd love it if you would share the show. And if you follow us already, you know that we call you affectionately Chipsters.
Chipsters.
You're a chipster.
I like it.
Yeah. Not a hipster. Chipster.
Chipster's pretty good.
Yeah. And, sometimes I'll call you, like if I'll call myself a chipstera or a chipsterina. We have fun. We have fun with that. So we appreciate anything you do. Now, George, if somebody wants to search for us, what did we figure out the search? We need to change that search
Conservative
term.
talk.
Conservative talk? Because a lot of things come up for conservative talk. But bear with us. We're working on all these things. By the way, this is a good opportunity. We need an intern. We don't make any money on this show. It's more like a podcast. And we have had some help in the past. And we were hoping we'd get an intern, but bless her heart, she's probably a little too busy. But if you live in the Phoenix area and you'd like to help us, it's a great opportunity. You can come do camera work. You get to meet great people, fun people like Jeremiah. With the campaign year coming up, we're going to have a lot of candidates. I've already got them asking me if they can be on the show. And it's a really neat opportunity. So, we might feed you once in a while. We just don't have any money. Sorry about that. But it's exciting. We have authors that come on board. And we, just if you know of anybody, what they can do is email me, and it's a real simple email. It's Alice, A-L-I-C-E, at chips, letter N, salsashow.com. Alice at chips, letter N, salsashow.com. Anything you want to say before we start the show, Jeremiah?
No, I think you're going to enjoy our show tonight. We're going to talk about why the light rail is a financial train wreck and why it's going to cost the city taxpayers more than the cost the city's telling us. So we're going to tell the truth about what's going on because the other side has not been truthful in this campaign. We're here to tell the truth here.
Yeah, and for any of you next door people, we talked about next door before the show.
Next doors, yes.
Woo! I mean, you know what? These things, it's very interesting. I think they feel like they have two sides of the coin because I'm on next door for our neighborhood, and it's great. You get to know your community. Right. You can share, find babysitters, landscape people, places to patronize, things like that. But man, you start talking politics and it can get pretty hot and heated.
It gets really heated.
And this is America. Everybody has a right to their opinion. But it's always a tell when the personal attacks come out. When you start getting away from the issues, may not have an argument anymore at that point.
Right.
Man. All right, so we're going to start in just a few minutes. What I'm going to do right now, I'm going to get a little commercial for our friend. If you have been watching or listening to our show, our good friend Ruben Obed, he's got this great song, and we like to play it all the time. And we discovered it in 2016. This Latino's going to vote for Trump. So you want to start early? We're a few minutes early. We could do that, George. Doesn't matter to me.
Trump, 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 this Latino's gonna vote for Trump. Trump, Trump,
Can't help it. We have to dance. We have Larry Schleicher here. And he was dancing. Great. So we started the show. So this is the Chips and Salsa Show. I'm Alice Lara. Coming on board is
Don Jorge.
And also we have a special guest. We can talk to Jeremiah Cota. We've got some great music from our friend Ruben Obed, El Mejor. And if you've listened to our show, you are familiar with this song now. Are you ready?
Let's put an end to political correctness and make you comprehend. It's the people gonna vote for Trump. Who you gonna vote for?
Who are you going to vote for?
Trump. Yes, the people's gonna vote for Trump.
People's gonna vote for Trump. People's gonna vote for Trump. For Trump.
So, Ruben Obed, it's Obed, El Mejor. You can find him on Facebook. He's got quite a following. Lives in Puerto Rico. Hardcore Republican. Good friend of ours. We're hoping he's going to come visit us someday. So we'll give you one more chorus of this, and then we'll start the show. And you can go to YouTube. He writes a lot of songs. He's written a lot of Trump songs. He really has. This is my favorite, though. We keep playing.
He's from Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. Puerto Riqueño. All right. Ready?
It's the people's gonna vote for Trump.
He's got a great voice, doesn't he? He's got an awesome voice.
He's gonna be on our show one of these days, he said.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's going to come visit. So, Chipsters, welcome. And first of all, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in, for watching us here on Facebook. Also, we're on YouTube. Da, 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 da. We appreciate if you could share this show. It's going to be a really good show. We're going to talk about Prop 105. If you're watching us from out of state, don't worry. Still watch the show, and I'll tell you why. Because you're going to get some really good information about light rail, federal stuff, interesting things, and it could affect you. It really could. So please stay tuned. I want to take a minute, though, George. And by the way, I'm Alice Lara. This is
Don Jorge el Alacran.
special guest Jeremiah Cota.
Hi.
C-O-T-A. Is it Cota?
I say coda. That's
Coda?
how I say it.
Like
but-
Dakota?
Correct.
Coda? Right on.
Right. Yeah.
I want to wish a happy birthday to my good friend, Regina Bazzello. You know Regina. She's from our Republican Women's Club with the Greater Phoenix Republican Women. We had a great mixer,
right,
didn't we?
We did. It was a perfect place.
Awesome. So happy birthday, Regina. I hope you're having a great one. And yeah, that was a wonderful mixer. We had a lot of people. Jeremiah was there. Erin Morris was there, who is with the Yes on 106, the other proposition we're voting on. And she'll be here next week. That's going to be. Also, you know who else is going to be here? Monica Yelin. And she's going to talk about more Hispanic, Latinos, whatever you want to call us, for Trump and Republicans. So that's going to be a really, really good show. We also want to give, I want to give a belated happy birthday to my little sister. Oh, she doesn't like to be called. My younger sister, Juanita. Juani, hey, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Okay, any birthdays for you?
Nope.
None? How about you, Jeremiah?
No,
No?
no,
Okay.
we're good in the birthday department.
Okay, I got one more. Clyde O'Brien. Remember, we've had Clyde on the show before. He follows us on Facebook, and I think he's a veteran, I believe. Speaking of veterans, Ronnie Jimenez was supposed to join us this evening. He's our good friend, Marine veteran, but he had, unfortunately, had a death in the family, so he couldn't make it. So we send you condolences, and we're going to have him back as soon as we can. But that's why he's not here. Possibly, Tim Taylor might join us again. He was here last week, if you remember, with Mini Trump. He brought in his son, Mini Trump. Oh, you know what? If that door's locked, I got to watch my phone so we can let him in. So I probably just make sure I better have that phone on. Okay, good deal. So, George, tell them where we're broadcasting from, man.
We're broadcasting from the People's House. The state Republican Party has graciously allowed us to broadcast in one of their offices, and we've been doing this for a couple of months now, and people love it. We talk everything Republican, and so this is the right place for us to be. And of course, we're gearing up for 2020 with our president, Donald J. Trump, and it's going to be a heck of a year, 2020, and we're working on getting out the vote. We're working with the precinct chairman, with the committeemen across the Maricopa County, and it's going to full gear now. So our chairman, Dr. Kelly Ward, is doing a great job bringing people together, and we are privileged to be here the people's house, because this is the people's house, and everybody that comes, they've made a transformation here, and it's very, very appealing to the eye, and you feel
Stop by.
like
Tell them they can stop by anytime.
yeah, you can stop by anytime and see all the changes that they've made to the people's house, and it's fantastic. So, again, we thank the chairman, Dr. Kelly Ward, for allowing us to broadcast here, and we'll be doing that until we stop.
Right on. And what I'm doing right now, I'm not ignoring you, but I am sharing this post because I want people to watch it. So if you would like to help us out, that would be great. Go ahead and, you're watching us obviously on Facebook. Just share it to your personal page. Maybe you belong to a group. Maybe you can think of a group that would like to watch us. There are so many Latinos out there that are conservative groups. Oh my goodness. There are so many guys that I started sharing, and I was telling Jeremiah, I got this message, you can't share anymore. You can't share until 10 a.m. tomorrow. So that's how many there are. So we appreciate if you would do that for us. And then right before we get started on the Prop 105, that's going to be our show. It's going to be a jam-packed show because there's lots to talk about.
Right,
I know we
lots
have
of
lots to
talk
talk about. But I would like to talk about this super cocotazo, George. Your friend, Mr. Cummings. Elijah. I love that name, Elijah. It's one of my favorite names.
It's a nice name.
It's Eli. It's a really nice name. But as people who follow politics, this guy tried to go after our president, trying to call him a racist, using the R word, not for Republican, but for racist. And Trump kind of fought back. That's the thing. Our president will fight back. He's not going to take it.
Calls people out.
Yeah. And guess what? So there's video they found now. You go back and he's saying, yeah, it's drug infested. He's talking about his own district. And how many billions was there? Like $16 billion that was given to him, federal funds. And it's still a mess down there. It's really sad. That's really sad. So here is this. We shared this on the Chips and Salsa Show. And if you follow our Facebook site, we post cocotazos and whole enchiladas. And Dallas Searcy, who follows us a lot, he says, too busy jet setting in Italy. And anyway, there are not enough illegal immigrants, the real focus of Democrats. So thank you, Dallas. Thank you for following us. And thank you, all you chipsters. So I just wanted to mention your buddy, Elijah, and he's out there. Kind of stole the thunder a little bit away from Occasional Cortex this week, I think, because he was.
I think he's so rude and
he's a bully.
He is, and they've given him the power to run committees and stuff, and that's a bad choice.
And he's been there 30? He's one of those been there 30 years.
He goes unchallenged, and no one challenges him. That's the issue. Republicans. We finally have a president who's actually challenging the other side. So this is, of course, this pushback, right?
I just love it. And anytime Trump tweets this thing and people cringe, sometimes I still cringe because wow, did he really say that? But man, 95% of the time, there's truth in there, and it comes out. I'm like, oh my goodness, there's always something that comes out of it. Wow. All right. So before we get started on Prop 105, do we have to announce anything? Anything going on in your world?
No.
No. I think there's a McSally event coming up.
I think so.
I think we'll have that for you next week. All the details. They're going to have a women's event, and I believe they're going to have one down here. Oh, we're going to have a kind of like a thing for LD27. It's going to be on the second Tuesday of August, which I believe is the 12th.
Right.
And what we're going to do is we're going to be down, no, excuse me, I'm lying to you. It's the 13th, August 13th. And that's going to be in South Phoenix. And what our chairwoman, Tracy Ireland, has done, she's going to have Jeremiah speak about 105, and I think Aaron Morris, or is it Marissa?
Marissa, I think,
Marissa
probably.
Speak about 106, and that's going to be, it's not going to be an official meeting, so George, anybody's welcome, all Republicans are welcome. It's to get more information. It's happening in South Phoenix, where all this is what we're trying to save, and it's going to be at Castillo's restaurant.
Correct.
And that's just a little bit north of Southern, I think. On Central.
I believe so. Or maybe south. It's next to the Ranch Supermarket.
Yeah, I mean, you can't miss it. And we'll have more details on that too. Great owner, that guy is so nice to us. Is his name Jose, right? Jose Castillo, shout out to him. And he's got a nice back room there. He's got Mexican food and Chinese food. So it's a buffet. You can bring your family.
And conservative.
And conservative,
yes,
yeah. He's conservative. And there is no alcohol, so you won't be able to drink, but that's okay because you're not going to need to. You're going to want to be sober when you hear all the facts about this, 105 and 106.
You may not want to be.
You may not want to be. Yeah, you may be needing a drink after that.
Right.
So let's get started and talk about this. Jeremiah, thank you so much for coming back. We appreciate
Absolutely. Glad to be here. So
that. We're getting close to the election, aren't we?
We are. We're almost there. August 27th, the voting date. Mail ballots went out in the mail this week. So, ballots are going out. They're arriving in mailboxes and on, doorsteps this week. I've seen a few people post that they are with us already. So that's good news. That's encouraging. Yes, we're seeing people, posting pictures of their ballots saying they're voting yes or voting with us. But every vote counts here. This is a low turnout election. We're gonna, it's gonna be, it's basically gonna just be making sure our people go out to vote, making sure the people who are with us on this issue go out to vote. That's what we're looking for. And this is, these are the final, most I don't know the number for certain, but I think about 70% normally vote by mail early. So
that sounds about right.
It's probably, so that's usual, kind of just a general data. So within the next week or two, the election is going to be pretty much over because most people have already voted. So people who go vote on election day are just kind of.
Well, are you hoping also for to get the turnout even on election? Now, I'm so old school. I have to vote the day of.
Same here.
I go, yeah.
I'm not
for a young person.
Well, I like going to the poll. It's fun.
It is. It's an experience.
Right.
Plus, here's the deal too. I don't know how you feel about this, but I kind of feel like you disenfranchise the election when you're able to vote early. Now, I think sometimes there is a reason. You can be out of state. It used to be the old thing was you had to be out of the country or out of town that day, so you could get they used to call them absentee ballots. But there might be those 2 weeks. If you vote 2 weeks early, what if you learn information later? Maybe you haven't watched Jeremiah, and you're like, I didn't know that.
Right.
I should have voted differently.
Right.
So I really, that's why I love to go election day, the very last of it, and get all the information I want.
We saw that in the presidential primary in 2016 when
That's right.
Was it Marco Rubio, or one of them had dropped out by the time our primary, and they were still on the ballot, and a lot of people voted for that
He
candidate.
had thousands of votes.
I think it was Rubio. Was it Rubio?
It was Rubio.
It was
You're
Rubio.
absolutely right. Yeah.
So, I always encourage people to vote the day up, but understand that not everyone can. So, but we are asking everyone to vote yes on Proposition 105. And, ask away. What kind of questions do we have
so
here?
Let's start out
let's
first
go.
for if anybody, because there's people watching that aren't necessarily, they don't live in Phoenix. You need to be a Phoenix voter to be able to do this. So explain what 105 is for the benefit of those who don't know.
Sure. So 105 is basically, it's a proposition that was put on the ballot because the city of Phoenix refused to listen to the small business owners and the residents of South Phoenix. The city of Phoenix had plans to do a South Phoenix light rail expansion into South Phoenix down Central Avenue. But at the time in 2015, when voters voted for this, the city of Phoenix said that this would only cost $535 million. Only, right. We're already saying only, because right now the cost now is projected to be $1.35 billion. So within 4 years, the costs have nearly almost tripled, and we haven't even started construction yet. So the costs have tripled. These are projected costs that they're now saying. So to break down those numbers, it's $1.35 billion. That's $245 million per mile. That's $140,000 per rider, per passenger.
Could you say that figure again?
Absolutely. So it's $1.35 billion. This is just for the construction, too. This is not for the maintenance.
For the construction of the extension.
This is just for the construction of the light rail. It's like 5.3 miles. This is going to be $1.35 billion, $245 million per mile, $140,000 per rider. So this is the latest project survey that the Metro, this is Metro's numbers, these aren't numbers that we've come up with, this is Metro's numbers. Valley Metro submitted a project survey to the Federal Transit Administration because they have to do these survey, they have to update their costs and see where it's at. So this is their latest numbers that they've put out. So if you've been watching kind of the news a little bit, there was kind of some hoopla about why the costs are doubling and tripling, and that's really why. They have cost overruns. They don't even know how much it's going to cost, to be honest. They said it was $535 million back in 2015. Now it's $1.35 billion. So they really don't know how much the costs are. And again, this is just construction. This is not continued maintenance,
The
which is going to cost millions more. So we're in billions. We're in billions now. So, and then on top of that, they didn't tell the South Phoenix residents that this would bring South Central Avenue down to 2 lanes. So you're going to have 1 lane of traffic on one side. So literally that this is going to, and the way they're going to do this, the construction is going to be up to 4 years. So you're looking at 4 years of traffic being disrupted down South Phoenix. So you're looking at all those business owners, and these are mostly minority business owners. These are, immigrant business owners. These are, women-owned businesses. This is a community that's diverse. It's been historically a diverse community, and their voices are being left out here. So basically, these people have no way. So this is what happens. So what the community did is they came together, they formed a committee, they gathered signatures, they gathered 40,000 plus signatures, they got it on the ballot, and they're basically asking the city of Phoenix to put these funds that would go into light rail into a sensible transit plan. And that transit plan would include things like fixing our roads. It would include things like
which have been ignored.
Right. It would include things like providing more bus options. So the funds are really freed up. So that way we're not wasting $140,000 per passenger. We can actually put that money into a sensible transit plan, one that makes sense. South Phoenix is a growing community. This is going to be adaptable for our community, a sensible transit plan. So that's what Proposition 105 is about. It's about a sensible transit plan. It's about a plan that can be adaptable for our growing community. It's not about, stopping light rail. It's not about, it's stopping the destruction of light rail and stopping the wasteful spending of light rail. But it really is. It's still a public transit plan, and we're asking for a sensible transit plan. And the city, again, refused to listen. They didn't listen to the concerns of South Phoenix residents. They didn't listen to the concerns of the business owners down there. This was a citizens-led initiative by the people of South Phoenix, by the residents of by the business owners. This was a citizens-led initiative. So the other side has been coming out against us. All sorts of nasty flyers.
We're going to look at these.
We're going to look at
these flyers and tell you about.
But that's what it is, and that's why we're asking people to vote yes on Proposition 105 on August 27th. So,
and Jeremiah, I just want to tell you. So Jeremiah and I both live in the South Phoenix area.
Mm-hmm.
George doesn't, but George has come to my house. He's familiar with the area. You travel all around the city. He's very familiar with it. And I was a part of those, the forums that they had, and it's been like, since last year that they did them. And they were so revealing. People are the next door fight that we were talking about being on next door. And I tell them these experiences, and I'm just going to tell about one, and we could talk about all kinds of them. But there were 2 young women, okay? They're probably college age. And it's true, we don't have the proper bus lines down there that run and everything. But they were telling of their experience, how they did go on the light rail. And we have light rail in Phoenix. And it's not that, that light rail serves a purpose for downtown and the way it moves. But they were saying how when they went on the light rail, they were accosted, they were frightened and intimidated. And their preference, they said, we'd like to really ride on a bus, because that way it's more self-contained. The driver's right there. Anything happens, there's a driver right there. And a big giant light rail, there isn't. He's very far away. And the other problem too is they still haven't solved the issue of anybody can jump on there, right?
Right. Anyone can jump on there, and anyone can. They aren't charging. It's kind of like an honor system, so it doesn't.
Why don't they fix that?
It doesn't even pay for itself. So
it seems like that'd be easy to fix.
It is. It's a large subsidy, and to your point about the crime issue, one of the things that the No 105 side has kind of been saying is economic development, that light rail spurs other investments and growth. One of the things that they actually attribute in their own study, the No on Prop 105 side, is they attribute the Phoenix Forensic Crime Lab as part of they attribute the light rail to that development. So they're basically saying that because of light rail, that we now have a bigger Phoenix Forensic Crime Lab. They are literally now saying pretty openly that you bring in light rail, you bring in more crime. It's kind of funny. It's kind of weird. I saw one of the ballot proposition arguments saying calling light rail a conduit of crime, and I said that's kind of a fitting narrative, and their own surveys that they've been doing, their own economic reports are basically saying that, yeah, we help build a bigger crime lab. That's exactly what we help
Wow.
contribute and attribute.
That is telling.
It is, and it's, I mean, the whole crime thing, it's still a financial mess. It's still, we're still spending a lot of money, but there are very legitimate safety concerns with this, and a lot of business owners and residents are concerned about that. And those were some of the concerns that were shared with the city of Phoenix, and they weren't heard.
Well,
so,
let's stay on safety for just a little bit, since
Right.
we've already gotten into that angle. There are a lot of angles that we can get into. I also just recently, our water delivery guy came, and I was asking him if he'd ever ridden the light rail, and he does his deliveries around. I work in the Park Central area, where the light rail is there, and again, I think that serves a purpose. We have a lot of business down there. We have medical schools. We have ASU is down there. We have big venues, the ballpark. So you've got to move mass quantities of people. So he said he took his family. He said it was kind of cool. We went down there. We ate at a restaurant. He goes, at night when we came back, there was some kind of, we'll say, unsavory characters on the light rail fighting. And he said his kids were afraid, and at least this gentleman can take care of himself. But my goodness gracious, that's not a good. Another interesting part about that is I've noticed since this whole issue came out, because light rail's been down there, I think I've been working there about 10, 12 years in that area. But all of a sudden, when they started, the petition came out and everything, guess what started happening down there? We're seeing security. There's actually some security officers, and they're riding the light rail. They do that,
Right.
which that's great. That's wonderful. You do need that. But all of a sudden, that's what, just like the crime lab, now
Yes,
we need the
right.
security officers too.
They attribute a few other things of their economic progress. They attribute a Tesla auto dealership, which is kind of ironic because the whole idea of riding light rail is to have less cars out
Right.
there. But it kind of goes fitting because like the only people that can afford cars, or Teslas are inexpensive, Teslas are very expensive. And the cost per rider is $140,000. So we've been saying, like, you know what? It actually is more affordable to buy a Tesla than to build the light rail for these riders.
So we could buy them one, even give them money to maintain it and
could
buy gas.
We could buy Honda Fits, or Toyota Priuses. I don't. The amount $140,000 gets riders a really nice vehicle. I think the riders would prefer that. And then they can go wherever they want, right?
They have a lot of freedom.
They have the autonomy to get in a car and go where they want. So. And these numbers come again from Metro's own numbers. They are saying there's going to be 9,600 passengers riding the light rail down South Phoenix. So when you divide $1.35 billion divided by 9,600, you get $140,000 per rider that we are going to spend. So it's a costly endeavor, and there's also a human cost to this. We haven't even touched upon the effects that are going to happen along South Central Avenue to the small business owners.
Yeah, and just before we get to that, I want to get to that next, but I also want to share, I've talked to people too, and I know that you have, so maybe they don't live right on the light rail, but they live when the light rail is created in the vicinity, and it's impacted their neighborhood lives. Once wonderful neighborhoods, they've changed, and the whole city of Phoenix is going to vote on this. And they have seen the effects of so maybe you don't live right there on Central, okay? But you still live close enough in the neighborhood. You will be impacted.
It will
happen to you.
Absolutely.
So I do want to get to the business. Now, what I want to share is I drive, where it's going to be extended down Central, and Jeremiah's driven with me. We need to do that again.
We were going to do it again.
And as I take it north to go to Park Central, about 75%, I'm going to say, of the businesses that are along there have, guess what they have? They have yes on 105 signs.
Right.
And, some of them don't, but I think it's because maybe like a national business, they can't do it, because they're not. But that shows you there's a lot of privately owned businesses. So they're afraid of what's going to happen once that light rail starts to come.
Right, and you can just drive down South Central Avenue. Go drive down South Central Avenue, downtown Phoenix. Just go past, and you will see a lot of the small business owners really do have yes on 105s. No one asks. We go up to them, we ask them, we tell them how it's going to impact their community, and they're like, yes, this is going to devastate us. So, and you can go down. There's the hardware stores, the grocery stores, the the Poncho's restaurant, which people love down there. It's been there. It's like a
icon.
staple. It's an
Yeah.
icon.
You're
It
right.
is. You're right. It's an icon. There's Lolo's on Central Avenue. Those are icons that are going to be impacted negatively because of the light rail construction that will go on for 4 years. I mean, and additionally, I was talking to one of the coffee shop owners right along South Central Avenue near Baseline, and she was like resigned when she was talking to me. Her and her husband opened this place
that a
2 years
cigar?
ago. It is.
Which is a great place, by the
It
way.
is.
Go
It
check
is
it
a
out.
great place.
Has great stuff.
They opened up their business 2 years ago. She told me they're finally getting on their feet, and then what she then told me was like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. Actually, you know what she says? She knows she's not gonna make it. She says we're already thinking about moving. We're already thinking about relocating. We're thinking about selling our business. So this is like
It's already started.
right. She's already thinking like, I'm gonna have to move. I can't last 4 years of construction. And she also said the city already told her they're gonna take out her patio. Like she has this gorgeous patio. It's a great meeting space, and they already said like, yep, we're gonna take your patio with it. So
Wow.
so they are basically just railroading, the community. And again, this is not just about the South Phoenix community. This is about the entire city of Phoenix. Everyone gets a chance to vote on this. Every voter, gets their say in here. But the very direct impacts are going to happen along the South Central Avenue, because this is where the extension is going. It's going from downtown Phoenix down to Baseline Road. So everyone along that South Central Avenue are going to be impacted. We have residents who are very concerned because they have no other easements other than Central Avenue. So there's very real concerns about, public safety, response times being impeded by the light rail. There's true concerns about, if there's an emergency, how is fire going to respond? How is the police going to respond? When they have no other easements.
What do they say about that? Because this one lane thing, it's Central, as you know, can be very, very busy. It's a main thoroughfare of traffic. You have one lane, fire trucks starting to get through. I was just on a few weeks ago, there was a fire truck, and we had to get out of the way, and that's 1, 2, 3 lanes at left turn lane.
Right.
What do they respond to that?
They don't respond. They don't listen to that. They just say this is for your own good, is what some of them have said, or we're doing you a favor, or you'll thank us, is what some people have said. You'll thank us, and this will help you out. You'll see. Like it's a very condescending attitude that the other side has come to approach this as well. So they really don't. I don't think they care, to be honest. I just think they like their gravy train of they're getting enriched, a lot of people out of this, and I think they just like their gravy train of tax dollars going to them. So, but and we've again, these concerns were brought up, and the city refused to listen. And like you said, they had those forums, the discussions. There was a lot of discussion about this, and it was almost like a way to say your piece and then do nothing about it. So that's why the citizens brought this petition forward. That's why they gathered 40,000 signatures. It's not easy to gather 40,000 signatures, so people care about this issue when people are able to collect signatures in just a matter of a few weeks. And that's what happened here, is their voices were not being heard, and that's exactly and it's still going on, and now they're trying to stifle those voices in this campaign.
I will tell you, Jeremiah, because I gathered some signatures, and people, I don't think I had anyone who refused a signature, because once they knew about it, and either they didn't necessarily even live in the South Mountain area,
Right.
but they had been impacted, and they saw the negativity of what can happen with the light rail, and it's an outdated technology.
It is.
As well.
It is. It is, and again, our proposition, our 105 voting yes, it changes our city charter to allow for those funds that would go to light rail to be used for other transportation options. So this is not an anti-public transit plan. This just means we want sensible transit plan. We want alternatives. We want things that are going to be new and growing. We want things that are going to be flexible. That light rail, it's in the ground. It stays there.
Yeah.
It doesn't move.
Do you know how much it costs to maintain the light rail?
I don't know how much it costs at the moment. I do know, I know the construction costs. I assume it's going to be in the millions, at least. So.
Well, I do know that Councilman Sal DeCiccio, he said that, as you know, because you drive a lot, the roads are in really bad condition. We need a lot of repairs done.
We do.
And he said one of the reasons is because a lot of that money has to go to take care of the light rail. The other Republican councilman, Jim Waring, said too, they didn't want it in their particular district because they knew, they need to fix the roads.
Right.
I mean, you can attest to the roads being in bad shape, can't you?
Oh, yeah.
Every dollar that we spend on light rail is a dollar that we're not spending on fixing our roads, maintaining our bus services, providing for further bus services. That's really what this is. Again, and we've asked for something. We've asked for those alternatives. That's what our proposition does. But you're right. Every dollar being spent on building a nice shiny rail is a dollar not being spent on fixing our roads. And the fact is, like, this is the city of Phoenix is growing, and we are moving forward with alternative transit solutions such as busing, and we're growing in our technology and just in travel. So this is really an outdated technology. You're right. We saw streetcars were in like Phoenix during the 1900s, right?
Yeah, I meant to take a picture of
right.
that.
And this is the same technology. The other side has been calling this progressive and economic development. And again, a lot of times when you look at their economic development, you look at things like what they're attributing that economic progress to. They are attributing things like the Memorial Union, the MU, the student union at ASU. They said because of light rail, MU was built at ASU, which makes no sense. The crime lab's another one, the Tesla auto dealership. They're attributing things that really, 3 parking garages. They said because of light rail, 3 parking garages were built. So they're attributing things that don't really make sense. And if you really look at those buildings that were built, a lot of them are also like heavily subsidized by the taxpayer already. So they're basically saying all this economic progress that's attributed to light rail because of us is actually subsidized because of it. It's just fluff. It's fluff. When you peel back the layers of what's really going on, you see that a lot of the things that they call economic progress are things that they actually our taxpayers are paying for already. So this is just really. If you look at who's really funding the no side, you start to see a lot of groups in there that are, they look like city insiders. They look like groups that would benefit, that would be enriched at, building out the light rail. You see a lot of contractor groups. You see engineering groups. You see out-of-state groups. There's an out-of-state group. There's out-of-state funding coming into them. I think you have a mailer here if you want to.
Yes, and I'm glad you got to funding because
wanna...
Jeremiah was on Horizon last night. Verizon. I'm thinking about my phone, and you were asked the question about out-of-state funding, and you have an answer to that.
Right, we are building a Better Phoenix committee. We do not receive out-of-state funding. Yes, so you can look at our campaign finance reports. We do not have out-of-state funding. The other side, however. The other side is a little less than honest. Let's just say it like that.
Who funds the other side,
right?
Jeremiah?
So they are called Invest in Phoenix. They are a committee that was formed, and you look at who's supporting them. I mean, we have the flyer here. I'm going to just kind of
go ahead and take that.
So you kind of have some of you look at the chamber, some of the union groups, AARP. We have Mayor Gallego, Councilwoman Pastor, and Councilwoman Stark. They're all kind of on support with this plan. And then if you look at who's actually funding Invest in Phoenix, which is the ones that put out this mailer, is called Invest in Phoenix, you're going to see things like Aztec Engineering Group. You're going to see things like, Hensel Phelps Construction Company. So you're seeing a bunch of like engineers, contractors. There's this one group called Gannett that's from Pennsylvania. They're a political action committee. That's technically this flyer is ironic because they are calling our committee dark money and out of state funded, and yet they are the ones that are receiving funding from out of state.
Oops.
And they're the ones that are using like PACs to like conceal that information. So
and I just want to interject here, okay? Because all this stuff you can go online, check it out.
You can.
Don't believe us.
Yep. Go online.
Go online, check it out.
Go to City of Phoenix website. Go look campaign finance reform. Building a Better Phoenix is our campaign, and you will see who funds us. It's a lot of it's just business owners and residents of South Phoenix who want their voices heard. And then you look at who's seeing their side. They have larger, we call them like probably larger donors. They have ASU. ASU is funding them too, which is kind of surprising. They're called ASU Enterprises, probably because they want to have that conduit of the light rail to bring in more students to their schools. So. And it's kind of a disingenuous argument that this is economic progress for South Phoenix, which is what they keep saying. This is progress for South Phoenix. It's for your own good is what they're basically saying. Yet really, if you look at who's benefiting, who's funding, you'll see who's benefiting. It's the ones building the light rail, and they'll be enriched at the expense of everyone else. So our community is saying we don't want this, that this is too costly, that we want solutions, but the city of Phoenix has refused to listen. So now we have to take this to the ballot, which is why we're asking everyone to vote yes.
And we are, so it's an initiative, and this, as Jeremiah keeps saying, the people brought it to the ballot. Because the other argument that you'll hear is, hey, we voted for this back in 2000, but you didn't vote for necessarily this. I don't think I voted for it, to be honest. But even if you did you vote for only one lane coming down Central? I mean, if you wouldn't have known what was going to happen, I'm not so sure you would have. The other thing that's going to happen, where the light rail is going to be extended, there's a historical bridge they're going to have to redo. It also goes under I-17, so that's going to be really interesting when they have to do that. It also intersects a riverbed, so it goes over the bridge. And that, I mean, it's not going to, they say 4 years, I don't know, I think it's going to be longer if they do it.
It's really hard to believe their numbers right now, because their numbers haven't been true from day one. You know, when they, in 2015, yes, the voters voted for this, they voted for a transit plan, and the only reason why light rail was included was because light rail standing alone by itself, the city of Phoenix the voters wouldn't have voted for it if it was a standalone thing. So they included it with, fixing roads and more bus services. So it was a broader transportation plan that the voters voted for in 2015. And but now they're saying, back then in 2015, they did say it was going to cost $535 million, and now it's $1.35 billion. And they did say, what they didn't say, it was going to go down in 2 lanes down South Central Avenue. So again, it's hard to even say 4 years, maybe 6 years, maybe 8 years. We don't really know, because the city of Phoenix hasn't been honest with giving us the facts in the first place. So it's really hard to believe how long this project's going to be, how much it's going to cost. We're seeing cost overruns, enormous cost overruns already. So it's one big financial train wreck is really what's going on here, and we're just trying to stop it. We want a sensible transit plan, and that's where we're trying to.
And
get.
It's needed. I give you just a little. I've been living down there now about 15 years, and Central has much improved. The businesses, it's a little nicer out there. Now it's not. It's not like downtown Phoenix or midtown like they call it. Okay, it's not fancy. It's more quaint, small businesses, but they're thriving. They're surviving, and they're doing so much better. So it's like now they're finally getting some momentum, and they're going, because some people are still not beautiful enough down there, But I'm like, my veterinarian's down there. I go to a salon down there. The Asukar. Go to that Asukar place,
Yes,
man. You really like it.
Go to Azuka.
It's just south of Baseline on the west side of the street. You really like it. They got a nice selection there too. And the ponchos. There's a food city. There's dental. There are a lot of businesses. There's new little restaurants that have opened up too, and it's like they're finally getting going. No, boom, we got to come in and we got to change it and do the light rail. And in the same time, they've ignored that part. We have potholes. I can't tell you. I mean, is calling all the time. Could you fix this pothole? Could you fix that pothole? And as it continues to develop, which we know we're a big city, we're going to develop, and that's why when you say this. Sensible transportation. It really is important. We're not saying no. We want the buses. We know what we need down there.
Right. This is a sensible transit plan is what we're asking for, and that was what we voted for in 2015. Was a transit plan that made sense, and light rail was included as an option, not necessarily the only option, which is what's going on here. When we say there's fear that this is going to stop light rail altogether. It doesn't. So existing light rail is not impacted. So this doesn't rip up light rail out of the roads. This doesn't stop, the current light rail that's in the road right now. This is just for future expansion. Now that doesn't mean in maybe a few years, maybe light rail is needed. We can go back to the city. There's nothing stopping the city. There's nothing stopping, the city from, changing the charter again, or having the citizens change, bring another initiative.
Like,
there's nothing to say that we don't ever want light rail. we asking don't put light rail at the cost it is right now down South Central Avenue. And the real impact here is that you really do have business owners who are going to be directly impacted. You have people's lives who are going to be upended. You have people who are going to be displaced of this. If we've seen the pattern in other cities like Mesa and Tempe, that once once the light rail comes in, a lot of the people who are there get displaced out. So this is really, the city kind of picking winners and losers, choosing who gets to live where, and that's not right. That's if the community is asking for something else, we should do what the community is asking for here.
You're so right. And then earlier, George, it was last year, I think, some of the shop owners came and they did our show, and we should have brought them on with you. You know what? You need to come back again. I mean, we still the election's not until the 27th,
right.
so you can bring back some of these shop owners, business owners, and that way they could speak from the heart and tell you. I mean, Jeremiah knows a lot of information. That's why we had him on, and he's working on the campaign. He lives in South Phoenix. George, I haven't given you an opportunity to ask a question. Do you have a question?
No.
Not yet. Okay, I know he's still learning a lot, but see, I think it's very valuable because you are all over the city of Phoenix. Even though you don't live in Phoenix, you will still be impacted because you drive these roads. You see the potholes.
Oh yeah, the potholes are terrible.
What I wanted to do is ask some more about. Okay, so we're taking these flyers, and you already went down all the different. We're also going to have, by the way, Prop 106 is next week. Aaron Morris is going to be here, or Marissa Hamilton. I can't remember. I think it's Aaron Morris is going to be here. Anyway, we are going to have 106, so please for next week. And again, that one too could impact you, even if you don't live in Phoenix, because a lot of cities are having problems with their pensions, and that's what the main focus is on
this vote no kind of confuses people.
It's very confusing.
It is. And we need to make sure that people vote yes when yes to stop the light rail from train wreck. Yes to stop it. And the reason why it's like that is because we have to. It's a city. It's changing the charter amendment, so you have to agree to change it. So that's why the language is like that. But remember, it's voting yes to stop the light rail, yes to stop the train wreck.
Because a lot of Hispanics will go in there, and they don't like it, and not liking something means no.
Right. So
liking something means yes. And if they've been convinced that they don't like this light rail, they'll vote no, because that's all they know. I mean, they don't want to. They get embarrassed to ask, and they'll go in and they'll actually vote no.
Right. Well, we are definitely out there. We are out there in the community. We only have a few short weeks left, August 27th, and again, ballots are going out next week. So if anyone wants to help us out in our campaign, you are welcome to come help us out.
You've got something going on this weekend.
We do. We are walking neighborhoods in the Arcadia area. So we are just informing voters. We've been walking pretty much every weekend since the beginning of July. We've gone to Ahwatukee and South Phoenix.
And what's the reaction you're getting out there?
Yeah, so far people have been very sympathetic. They see our flyers, they talk with us, and people are usually in agreement with us. And we're going to voters directly, and we have our signs out there. We are just talking to the voters directly because, unfortunately, the media hasn't really been very sympathetic to what we're doing either. They sounds like they're kind of, I won't say they're biased, but they haven't given a lot of coverage to this as they do on some other issues that they like.
It's frustrating with the information because you and I have been following this issue, so we know a lot of the information, and when you don't get the facts out there, it's really disheartening.
And then when we have ads like this that just pure out, just lie about what we're doing.
It says protect the light rail, protect our communities, and then some signs even says vote no. Firefighters union agrees on vote no.
And
why
it's
do
like
the firefighters? I would think that a firefighter wouldn't like this because having the one lane, it would seem to hamper them.
I'm not sure why they're supporting it, but they, I'm sure it could be union interest. I'm not entirely sure. We do see some union interest here. I believe that's their association logo on here, flyer. So
but they want to make you believe that if you vote for this Prop 105,
that you're hurting
public
safety.
The light rail is just going to go away. We can't do this anymore.
They have Save Our Parks and Save Our Libraries on some of their signs, as if public transit funds does not impact the libraries. So the money that Prop 105, or the money that was voted on in 2015 was a sales tax. That money was allocated for transportation funding. So saying that this is taking away money from our libraries and parks is just disingenuous again. So we can talk about all the nasty statements they have been doing, right?
We could probably, we should probably just take apart. But I want to also make an appeal out there because, again, I cross the street where there's light rail, and the other bad part of the light rail, okay, jaywalking. Jaywalking. Oh my gosh, I'm terrified. Someday, someone's going to get hit. They just run across the busy street. Now, maybe I'm a nerd. I'm no saint, but I value my life. I wait for that walk signal.
We already had that issue in District 7, which is actually South Phoenix.
Yeah.
The Republic, actually, I believe, reported on, Congressman Gallego's District 7, which is South
That's
Phoenix,
ours.
has the highest pedestrian deaths already. So, I mean, this just goes to
We
show.
have a lot of pedestrians.
Right, we do. I live in South Phoenix, or I watch for pedestrians all the time because we're kind of a pedestrian-heavy area. So, a lot of people, walk in our community, so that's just kind of, you have to be very mindful of that, and this light rail, it's probably going to cause more problems too, so.
It just contributes, but really, please don't do that, and if I ever try to do that, I'd probably get a ticket. I understand too, one time I was waiting with this one lady and someone jaywalked, and we were waiting for the walk signal, and she turns around and I said, I just can't do that. She said that she did, and her fine for doing that was something like $140.
Oh my.
And see, I'd get caught because I can't get away with anything. It doesn't matter, so I don't even try. So I want to check out this flyer. So this is our vote yes, and this says over 70% of Phoenix City streets have been designated as substandard and will require billions to repair. Halting light rail expansion will free up the money, as you say, but 70%. This is we're the fifth largest city, right?
Right.
70% of our streets. That's what's going on there? That's horrible.
Right, and again, this every dollar that's being spent in light rail is a dollar that's not being spent fixing up that pothole in your neighborhood. That's exactly what's going on here. Is every dollar that goes into all that $140,000 that is paying for each rider on light rail is $140,000 that isn't fixing that road down your street, that isn't providing another bus route in your neighborhood. So this is really, are we asking for all public transportation to end? No, we are not anti-transit. We are not anti-sensible. We are just asking for a sensible transit plan. That's what we've been asking all along. So this is, again, we're asking for our roads to be fixed, and we're asking for more bus services. And the other side's been very disingenuous, I believe, saying, that we're against poor people, or we're against people not using public transportation.
Tell me, you don't care about these
Right.
people. They need to find a way to work, and they're not going to be able to get to work. And I'm thinking, you know what? They have been getting to work.
Right, and they have been getting, and especially in the South Phoenix, because we're both from the South Phoenix community.
Right.
We live there. People do get to work right now without light rail.
And a lot of us work up there.
A lot of
Most
us work.
do.
A lot of people get around. There is a bus service down there. I mean, this actually, people do get around.
And people don't have cars. Believe me, there's plenty of traffic. There are a lot of cars down there.
Right. So this whole idea of that it's kind of a we know what's best for you attitude that's been coming out of the
Right.
that's been coming out of the No on 105 side. They kind of like, we know what's best for you. We've seen, you and I have both seen it on the Nextdoor app, just kind of a really nasty side to them of what they say, some of the things they just personal attacks that they just lob at you if you don't agree with them. And
Jeremiah's been accused he doesn't really live in South Phoenix. I had to say, yeah, I've been to his house. He does.
I've been
Sorry,
called
you're wrong.
not true Latino enough because I don't support wasteful spending because it's insane what the other side has just lobbed against us, and they're calling us uncompassionate, unkind, uncaring. And really, we're calling for a sensible transit plan. That's what we're calling for, and apparently that's too much for some people to handle out there. So,
you know what else that we didn't talk about either? Here's the difference, too. If you don't live in South Phoenix, South Mountain area, you may not realize it. Because we have to cross the riverbed. So Central Avenue crosses the riverbed, also 7th Street and 7th Avenue. If you're not familiar with the area, Central divides our city, okay, east and west. On the west side, we have avenues, numbered avenues, and on the east side, there are streets, numbered streets. So 7th Street goes through, and 7th Avenue, I think 19th Avenue and 24th Street. Now, unlike downtown area, true downtown area, You have the Third. You can take Third Street. You can take Third Avenue, and different places to get around. You're not going to be able to do that. So, as you know, when the light rail happens, it diverts a lot of traffic that people don't want to go down that way.
Right.
So they're going to go down to 7th Street, which is already packed now.
Right.
What's going to happen to the traffic then?
The traffic is going to be diverted to the other, major arteries down there. 7th Street and 7th Avenue are kind of the other major arteries, and 19th Avenue. Those, if you drive those during rush hour anytime, or just during the day, you'll get stuck in traffic. 19th Avenue has a railroad track, so a lot of times you get stuck there already just because there's train crossings going on there all the time. So a lot of this traffic that's going down Central Avenue is going to have to be diverted down to 7th Street or 7th Avenue. And you're right, because of the river, we have to cross the bridges. It's not like we have, a bunch of side roads that we can go on there. You have to cross. You have to use either 19th, 7th Street, Central, or 24th Street. There's really no other ways around it. So all that traffic is going to be diverted to those other arteries, and that's just going to clog up more, and you're going to see more traffic in those areas. And again, we don't know how long this construction project's going to run. We've been told it's going to run 4 years, and we're not entirely sure if it's going to be 4 years or not. We've been told it was going to be $535 million, and now it's $1.35 billion. So we don't know how long this costs. We don't know the cost overruns. We don't know how long this project's going to go. If you're familiar, there's something called the Boston Dig. The Boston Dig, which is their transit plan. I don't remember the years, but it's just this ongoing costly project. It's a underground train plan that they've been trying to do for years, and it's
Boston Dig. I get it. They got to dig underground.
And we don't need something like that. That's a misnomer for like failed transit plan, and that's why it kind of referred to the Boston Dig as a failed transit plan. So we don't need that in South Phoenix, and that's exactly what the city of Phoenix is trying to do. They're trying to shove this down our throats. They're trying to push this onto us when we've asked them very kindly through gathering signatures that we want an option. And again, we're looking at people like Mayor Gallego and Councilwoman Stark and Councilwoman Pastor really kind of refusing to listen to the residents of South Phoenix for whatever interest. I don't know, but they've kind of basically made their claim. They're on the ad, so we're not making it up.
Yeah.
They're on the ad, so they're just basically refusing to listen to the residents of South Phoenix. And again, the cost, it's not just South Phoenix that's impacted, it's everyone. This is the cost. Everyone shares in on this cost. Very few people are enriched. There are some people that get very enriched by this project. You can look at the campaign finance reports for who those people are exactly. You'll see a streak of who's getting enriched there.
And there's a lot of information on Facebook. And if you're watching us, we have someone that just joined us right now, Tim Taylor, who's running in CD9, correct?
Right.
And he was here last week, but and he doesn't live in our district. Our district is CD7. But like I was telling the audience, people are impacted by light rail. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter because a lot of people work in Phoenix. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's why our freeways are filled. So everybody is impacted.
Everyone is impacted.
So before we transition to you, do you have some comments, Tim, about light rail and what you think about it?
Yeah, definitely. So I used to ride the light rail to downtown Phoenix from Mesa. And so I rode it pretty often. I had a pass from ASU, and Sun Devils, by the way. And it was not really out of convenience, but more of necessity. Driving your car downtown has always just been frustrating for me, and then finding parking down there. I was on time constraints, had to drop the kids off and things like that.
So that seemed like a great solution. I'm on the light rail, Mesa, boom.
It seemed like a great solution until I started doing it every day and realized I have to backtrack to go to the closest park and ride, and then the time it takes to get to school and rushing to classes and things like that. And I was just rushing everywhere, and it kind of would have been better if there was just a simpler solution, or more parking, or something else.
Or a fast bus you could have taken there.
Or a fast bus to get me straight down there, something like that. But it was kind of out of necessity. Or
how much does it cost? I don't even know what light rail costs.
I don't know.
Oh, of course. I believe that ASU students, don't they get a freebie or a reduced rate?
It's a discounted rate, so it's a couple $100 for a semester.
Okay, that's
so
not bad.
It's not that bad. It's fairly affordable for students.
And that's good. And you can do that now. I mean, you can come all the way from Mesa.
And it's not the true cost, by the way. It is heavily subsidized. So
right,
let's You're not paying the true cost on that.
Was
on
it
that
pretty,
ride.
a lot of ridership at that time? Pretty good?
In the mornings, it can get kind of packed. Some mornings in downtown Phoenix, but coming from Mesa, there's almost nobody. And
Did
then
it-
passing through Tempe, a few students. But
And
generally,
this is
it's-
pretty recent.
This was a couple years ago.
Did it save you any time?
No,
No time
it
saved.
took no. I had to wake up a couple hours earlier to get to where I needed to be to get to class on time. When you take the time, take the amount of time it takes to travel on the light rail, to drop the kids off, to drive to the park and ride. I had to backtrack about 3.5 some odd hours in order to that I have to leave earlier from my house. So
There was a video I know someone took from Mesa that had come to some of our forums, and they did a little video, and many businesses that they had to build a light rail on failed. They didn't stay in business. Is that your experience too?
as a matter of fact, so an old family friend of mine, they have a business in Mesa, and the light rail is right in front. And I remember we've been friends for probably 15, 16 years now, and I used to work for them in high school. But besides the point, so while the light rail was under construction, they lost a ton of business, and it's a family-owned business. They all work there. My friend I went to high school with, her mom and her mom who owns it, and so it's a family business, real small business, and they lost a ton of business and had to fire a lot of their crew, probably about
So
10
it's-
employees, more than half.
Costing jobs down.
Did they stay
cost
in
a job.
business?
They stayed in business. Luckily, they were well established enough. They've been there for a long time. They were well established enough that they could stay in business. But talking to them about it, and they basically told me that a lot of businesses around them in that area shut down because people couldn't get to them,
couldn't see.
and it was just inconvenient to get to them during the construction. So several businesses around there shut down.
And we've seen that mentality with the No 105 supporters. It's like, well, if you're strong enough, you'll make it through, and it's kind of a very
pretty
disconcerting.
elitist.
It is. It's
Yeah.
a very disconcerting attitude that some of the No 15 people have. It's like, well, if your business is strong enough, you'll make it. Like, that's not what our taxpayers are supposed to be. Our taxpayers aren't supposed to be, closing down, giving you a business test. Like that's not what our tax dollars are for. So, but that's kind of the attitude we've seen on some of the arguments for that. You'll thank us for it kind of attitude.
And we're a capitalistic society. And then also with your other, well, we'll lose those federal dollars. Now if you go to Congress, those federal dollars, guess what? They're actually come from us.
Right.
It's like the Democrat debates that I haven't been able to watch, but it seems like all they do is, okay, we're going to write you a check for this. We want to spend $1 trillion on this and that.
Right. And those federal dollars are only for light rail construction. Like that's not money that can be used for anything else. So, and what we've been saying all along is that money, they're basically saying, they're making the city spend more is what they're really doing. They're throwing out a carrot out there for the city to spend more money. Like, spend your money, we'll spend money. So it's an incentive to just spend money. That's all this really is. And, we've asked for the money to be spent on sensible transit plans is what we're asking for here. So that's really what this is about.
So I want you to give all the information so if somebody would like to volunteer
Absolutely.
and get a hold of you. We're going to, why don't you come back every week, maybe bring a
Okay,
business
yeah.
owner, and we can do
We
a
can do
segment
that.
about this. And then we're going to take some time and talk to Tim a little bit more about what he's doing, because he kind of got cut short last time too. I mean, you guys are always welcome. That's why the Chips and Salsa Show, we're here to give you political information.
So, absolutely. So you can go, the best thing you can do for us is vote yes. Vote yes on Proposition 105. Vote by August 27th. And ballots are going out in the mail already, so some are coming in the mail right now. If not, go on Election Day. You can help us out by going to our website, or mainly our Facebook page is probably the best source for information. That's Building a Better Phoenix, and just look us up on
Like
Facebook.
the page.
Yes, like the page, share the page. We're putting information out there. And just see what we're talking about. Look at the facts. That's the best thing you could do here is look at the facts. Look at the facts of what light rail really is and what it is and how it's going to benefit you and how it's not, and make a decision from there. Well, we believe our facts and our side shows that we should be responsible with our tax dollars, that we should have an alternative transit solution here that makes sense for our growing community. So that's what we're asking for. And again, we hope you vote yes with us on August 27th. So thank you so much.
And this is to me, this is really about the people speaking. So whatever you think, okay? And the other thing, too, that we didn't talk enough about, yeah, we're Republicans, and a lot of Republicans are voting yes. Some are not all of them are. A lot of Democrats are voting yes. And this is one where, in our community, we're really coming together. I just delivered a sign yesterday. They wanted a sign. And this neighbor, I'll call her a neighbor because she's my community, she happened to be a Democrat. But that's fine, because on this issue, we're trying to save our community.
That's right.
So contact Jeremiah. He's doing a fabulous job. Watch for him on TV, and maybe you can come back next week or bring someone.
Absolutely.
You know, that'd be great.
Perfect.
Hang around if you'd like to. We're going to talk to Tim for a little bit. Tim Taylor, not the tool man. I don't know, I shouldn't say that. I keep saying that.
You can call me the tool man. I just can't call myself the tool.
There you go. And he's definitely not a tool, but he is running for Congress. Dun, da, da, da.
I do need to step out.
Okay,
so
that's fine.
Thank you
for
so much.
coming. Appreciate
Absolutely.
it. All right, great job, and we'll see you the next time. He's kind of squeezing good. He's doing a good job. And he's running in Congressional District 9. And he was with us last week, so we're going to take a little bit of time here and talk to him a little more. So why don't you tell give your short little minute bio, and also explain where Congressional District 9 is in Arizona, kind of geographically. We should have that map behind us.
Okay, yeah, definitely. So, real quick about myself. I've lived in Arizona since I was 3. I was raised in Tempe, and I've kind of lived all over District 9, from Tempe to Ahwatukee to Mesa, and I've lived here basically my entire life until I joined the Marine Corps. Kind of went all over the place. I chose to come back here because Tempe is a city that I love, and it's where I chose to raise my family, and I think it's a good choice. I think District 9 is a good choice. I'm running for Congress because over the years I've noticed that nothing gets done in Washington, and it's you see the same faces over and over, and it's the same bureaucrats over and over. It's career politicians who want to make a name for themselves and increase their power, and I've had enough, to be totally honest, and I just feel like our founding fathers, did not believe that Congress should be a career. It was more of a sense of duty to go to Congress to represent your people and to work towards solutions and progress. And I feel like we have gotten away from that. And I want to bring that back. I want to bring that back to Congress. I want to represent the people that I know and that I love, and the district that I love. And I want to basically take their career out of Congress. And that's my quick, probably 1.5 minute bio.
That's a pretty good bio, and thank you for your service. We appreciate it. You look so young, you can hardly believe that, huh? But thank you very much.
I've been in the Marine Corps for 12 years.
Wow.
And I'm still in the reserves as we speak.
Thank you for doing that.
The second part of your question, District 9.
Yes.
So District 9 covers, briefly, Ahwatukee, some of Chandler, all of Tempe, a little bit of Mesa, I believe a little bit of South Scottsdale, and up in the Arcadia district in Phoenix.
Wow, so you do have some of Phoenix. In fact, that's where Jeremiah is going to be walking, in the Arcadia district. So you've got, I mean, for those of you that aren't familiar with the Phoenix area, we got about 20 cities or something out here that make up the metro area. That's a big chunk. Ahwatukee is actually still in Phoenix. It's the true South Phoenix, but they don't call it that. That's a big chunk you're running. And he's running against, hopefully you make the primary. It would be Greg Stanton, who was our former mayor, who had to step down, and that's how we have Mayor Gallego now. So we just have a little bit of time. I'm trying to ask you, what is the most important issue to you that we need to really change and work on?
It's hard to say.
So many.
Important. There are so many. I think first and foremost, there are really two main things that I really want to hammer down.
I'm going to put this down so you see your face.
Thank you. I think the less the better, but that's okay.
You need to see who you are.
There are two things that I really want to hammer down on, and that's fixing the VA and congressional term limits. And I know that's been kind of tinkered with for quite some time.
So you're for term limits?
I am for term limits, and I don't think fundamentally I believe that our founding fathers didn't put term limits in for a reason. However, the mindset at the time was different. They didn't expect it to be a career and for people to be there for 30, 40, 50 years.
Who would have thunk it?
Yeah, and I have no interest in making it a career. I rather enjoy spending time with my friends and family, and not being the most hated person in my community. Anyways, so on the veterans issue, fixing the VA, I've been in the Marine Corps for 12 years. I've been in the veteran community for a long time, and I'm fairly active in the veteran community now, going to different groups and meeting with tons and tons of people over the years, and helping organize events and stuff, and it's been a great time. And the one thing that I really heard from a lot of veterans is that the process with the VA is 100% garbage, and there are a number of ways that it could be improved. But the biggest issue that they're finding is that when they make an appointment, it will get canceled without their knowledge, and a lot of veterans will show up to their appointment and just be told.
How does that happen with the technology that we have? I mean, that just seems wrong. My goodness.
It's I think it's just the VA's way of recycling, so they don't have to show canceled or missed appointments and things like that. Now,
that's interesting.
Because I have yet to meet a veteran who's been notified that it's been canceled. I'm sure they are out there, and I know that people.
There are a lot of ways to contact people now.
There are a lot of ways. Yeah, there definitely are. But I have a personal friend of mine. It took him about 6 months to actually get into a doctor's office to be seen about. He has 2 or 3 fairly serious issues, and it took him about 6 months to finally just be seen. He has a 100% disability rating. He's gone through the whole process, and it still took him. He's a very proactive person, and it still took him so long. And these are things that if one little thing were to go wrong, he could be in
big trouble.
Critical care, big trouble. And it's these kinds of things don't happen in the private sector. And I know personally with my daughter who just recently had heart surgery, and so I mean we're fortunate to have PCH right here.
Which is Phoenix Children's Hospital.
Sorry, yeah.
That's okay.
But getting appointments made and getting referrals from our doctors, and we have half a dozen doctors just for the one child. But all their systems talk to each other. They all talk to each other independently and through one system. I don't know what it's called, to be honest with you, but the communication's outstanding. If we need an appointment, we can be seen the next day.
So it can be done.
It can be done.
And all the money that goes into that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, money from what I've seen isn't necessarily the issue. Yes, more money could definitely help, no doubt about it. But the VA has increased its funding periodically over decades, yet the issues remain. The biggest things that we can do to fix it is to hold people accountable, make it easier to fire people, which Congress has started to do, which are good things. It's still a process. It's still difficult, sure, but it's and there's still improvement to be made. There's always going to be room for improvement, no doubt. And then what we're also seeing is there are really 2 classes of veterans. There's the older veterans and the younger veterans in my age, like millennials around that age group. The older veterans would prefer to go into the VA, while the younger veterans would rather have something like an insurance card, where they can choose to go to the VA or go see their personal doctor. And so there's a big divide, and we're seeing that more and more with the younger veterans. And that's kind of what the Mission Act does. And I really applaud this administration for the Mission Act and Congress for passing it, because, to be totally honest, it's a great step forward. It allows, what the Mission Act does, if you're not familiar with it, it basically allows veterans to, if they feel like they're not receiving adequate health care, if they're not receiving timely health care, or if they're too far away from the VA, because a lot of these guys live in rural areas,
sure.
So getting to the VA is in itself a hassle, and some people don't have transportation and can't do it. So with the Mission Act, they're able to take their benefits that they're promised by Congress and use it with their personal physician that's local, or with somebody who's a specialist in an area, rather than wade through the red tape.
Well, that just makes entirely too much sense.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So you would be a fighter for those things. That's good. So let's chuck down too on illegal immigration.
Okay.
All right.
could we talk? So I meant to come in to talk about the electronic health systems record with Ronnie. I can't remember his name. Ronnie.
Yes, and Ronnie couldn't be here,
right,
unfortunately.
right.
We're going to have him back. But
Yeah.
go
Could
ahead
I
and touch on that.
touch on
'Cause
that?
let's do the veteran stuff
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Absolutely.
we'll knock it all out.
Sure.
So the electronic health record system. So the private sector has been doing this for
Electronic
time.
medical records you're talking about.
right. So the issue that
That was George.
one of the main reasons that I haven't gone to the VA and why a lot of veterans don't go to the VA is because they don't have their medical records from when they were on active duty. Now, I've been trying to collect them, and I'm still in, and it's a hassle. So I can't imagine when you get out the kind of hassle it is to try to find your command or the records department and pull teeth, try to pull teeth to get the records. But so they've had to carry around their medical records with them and maintain all these things for years, and then bring it to the VA, and hopefully
Wow.
everything works.
Yeah.
And so what this new system is going to do is create an electronic record system that while you're in as a member of the DoD, your medical group or department will maintain and track all that, and it'll be uploaded into a system that the VA can use. And so instead of you hauling around your medical records, it's all there. Everything you submit while you're in service is going to be there electronically. The VA can pull from it. You don't have to bring anything. It's going to be there. You just walk into the VA, and it's
Again, boggles my mind because that should already be in place.
it should already be in
It
place.
already should be in place. It's really carrying your records. Doop, doop, doop.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. That's good.
So
That's good.
ideally, they have a launch date of next year. So hopefully, that will happen and be on time. Because that'll be just a huge improvement. It's a lot of work to do on the ground, a lot of legwork, but it'll be a huge improvement for veterans.
One thing about that too is, and I don't know if this is possible, but I remember talking to a man who was developing a system. So, like, on a thumb drive, you could have all your medical records with you, and then that way you carry it. And actually, he was going to put it on a card, I think, to do that. And that'd be nice for all of us to have, actually, in some respects. But that way, if something happened, their system was down or whatever, then you have it available, not carrying around a big file of papers with your records.
Yeah, that's actually what I have for my personal doctor. Is I had them just download
Good.
everything and give it to me. I do that periodically as I go in.
And we all should, actually. That's a good choice. But yeah,
I have to turn all that into the military. So
nice.
anyways.
Well, I'm all for. I think we need more veterans in our Congress because I think that number has been diminishing. The number of people, our presidents, less and less of them have been veterans more recently. But I think that would help us if we could get our veterans in Congress.
I 100% agree. I'm a little biased, but
Sure.
I definitely agree. So there's a few things that you really learn while you're in the military, and I think one of them is selfless service and to answer the call of duty and to serve others in a purpose that's greater than yourself, and to kind of do things not for the credit but for the benefit of the group, and not to mention with the way the international tensions are right now with places like North Korea and Iran and where things are just ramping up, I feel like having more veterans in Congress with the War Powers decision, having more veterans in there with that steady hand, people who have been there, who know what war is like, who know what being shot at's like, who know what being sent into combat's like, having them is going to make that decision more real. And so for us, it's not just, well, they shot at us, so let's send our army. For us, it's they shot at us. Should I send my brothers and sisters to go potentially lose their lives? It's real personal for us. Because currently, I serve with thousands of Marines, most of which I consider my brothers and sisters. And so for me, especially those I still serve with now, so for me, if I'm gonna, while in Congress, if we're going to declare war, for me it's very personal. I'm going to be sending people that were at my wedding, people I invite over to my house for barbecues, and so that's I feel like it should be that level. You should have that level of connection with the people that you're sending.
That's a really good point. It's too bad, I think Americanism needs to be improved also, because we should feel that way anyway. They're our fellow Americans. Now, of course, you have the special experience having been in the military, but that's a really good point. I'm very glad that you came and made. Okay, we got a few more minutes,
Okay.
so I'm going to kind of rapid fire a few things at you.
Yep, let's do
Now, Tim will come back because he's got an open invitation, and this is what you're going to see during the coming year of 2020. It's a big election year, and we're going to try to offer as many candidates. I know, George, that they've been calling on us to come, and that's what we're about, because this is a Republican political show. So let's rapid fire a few topics like illegal immigration that I asked you just a minute ago about.
Anything in particular, or just go for it?
Just give me like your quick, what's the most important thing that probably needs to be paid attention to, and if you have some solutions, cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I have solutions. So our immigration system, our laws and everything, hasn't really been, it was implemented roughly 30 something years ago, and hasn't really been updated ever since it was implemented. It's kind of been patched up, and band-aids here and there, and temporary fixes, and
Unenforced.
Right. And silly laws to, I'm sure it wasn't the intent, but to incentivize people to come here. And
True.
And while the intentions were good, like if you have a baby, you should be given priority. I see the merit in that. However, that has led to, and we've seen it with over 5,800 fake families that have been documented at the border. People trafficking, buying babies and children to bring them across the border. It's outrageous.
It's horrible.
It is horrible. And that's something that I feel like is it should be an incredibly bipartisan issue that we should fix, and we should fix now. If you give that incentive, then it will curb those people from doing that. So I think we need to take a hard look at our laws. We need immigration reform. We need to bring it into the 21st century. It's time, and there are groups out there like the Libre Initiative. I was just at their event the other day. It's a solid group. They have good ideas.
We need to have them on. We haven't.
Yeah, Carlos is outstanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's outstanding. Real nice guy. Anyways, another step on the illegal immigration. I'll try to speed this up. Is building the wall. And when I know a lot of people say, well, you can't build a wall across the border, and I think for the most part people understand that when we say the wall, what we really mean is, yes, a wall where it's feasible, but there are just places where it's geographically impossible. But the wall includes increased border guards, border security, increased technology across the border, and it's a comprehensive approach. It's just described with two words. It's simple, and I think that is bipartisan, whether you want to believe it or not, because on the Democrat side, what they want is more technology and more people at the border, and on the Republican side, we say, yep, 100% plus a barrier, and walls work.
Well, and my thing is, I think the main function of the national government is to provide protection for the United States, the defense of the nation, to keep it a nation. So it boggles me, my mind, why is there so much anti-wall?
Right.
Anti-barrier. Maybe we need a new term for it. The Democrats are better at this than we are.
Yeah. Anti-barrier. I like that. Or barrier.
Barrier,
not
yeah.
Anti-barrier, yeah.
Gotcha.
It's fundamentally, it is the federal government's job to protect our country as a whole, to look out for the general welfare, and that 100% includes the border. I think we also have to keep in mind that the decisions we make affect, the decisions and policies that we put in place affect the world, and definitely affect our neighbors to the south, Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, and all those countries down there, especially the top three that are where the immigrants are coming from. And then we have to look at why they're coming. And I think one, and Ronald Reagan really said it best, we're a shining beacon on a hill for all the world to see.
We still are, yeah.
We still are, and I think that's evident in that people are flocking by the thousands. They're walking 1,500, 2,000 miles with their children. Some of them leave their families behind just at a chance to be in our country. And that should, one, point to how great we are. Two, not to sound pompous, but we're an incredible nation. Two, we should really focus on on how we treat them, how we process them when they come here, because as we've seen, there are the fake families and there are the bad guys. 100, there are definitely the bad guys, but there are also the people who are seeking asylum and who want temporary status, who legitimately should have it. And I think another
there are a lot of them that we would love to have here because we need the labor, and they would probably make future great citizens. But the way the process is now, it's bad for them.
Yep.
It really is.
It's very difficult. It's very difficult, and it's the bad seeds. It's the bad seeds that are making it even more difficult for the good ones. There's a story that I'm reminded of, and I can't remember her name exactly. I think it's Martha Lamas, where where I just heard her story the other day at the Libre Initiative's event out at Cider Core Mesa, and I'll post this on my Facebook page. Her story. So she was in a very abusive relationship south of the border, and eventually it got so bad he pulled a gun on her. She escaped and came to the United States, and she was like, well, she claimed asylum and got it, and she's like, what am I going to do? I only know how to clean. So she did it, and she started cleaning. She got in with the business, worked her way up, and eventually opened up her own franchise, and that franchise now supports, I think, roughly 80 full-time jobs, and they've made, for the last 10 years or so, they've made over $1 million in revenue every single year.
Wow, that's the American dream.
It's the American dream. She got her citizenship. So she met a nice man, and they eventually got married. But she said the one stipulation before they got married is that she wanted to get her citizenship first, and she did. She got it. She set a goal. She worked towards it. She got it, and then she got married. And she's living the American dream. She's an incredible woman. I heard her speak, and she's so positive and so empowering. And it's these are the people that truly want to come into our country, that we want to come into our country.
Right.
It's hard to sift them out sometimes, especially when the border's underfunded, understaffed, and being attacked left and right.
Oh, absolutely. Well, listen, we probably should wrap it up, but before we do, tell people how to get a hold of you, contact you, help you, everything.
Right. So on Facebook at Tim Taylor for Congress. I have a link to my website, which is timtaylorforcongress.com. And I think that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the two places.
Even if you don't live in Arizona, if Tim gets elected, he's still going to be representing you. So if you'd like to send him a few bucks, maybe you live in Texas or watching us from Colorado, you can still send him money. You can donate to his campaign, and he's an official candidate. So we'll keep track of him. He's going to come back and visit every once in a while. And I thank you for visiting our show tonight. George is back there behind the camera. Don Jorge de Alacran.
Don Jorge.
Please join us next week. I think Jeremiah might come back. He might bring a business owner with him. You're always welcome to come back and join us too. I'm Alice Lara. Don Jorge. We are going to have Monica Yelin is going to be here and talk to us all about Republican Hispanics. She's doing a bunch of stuff like that. And then there's somebody else, George, that's going to be here, and I've forgotten who that's going to be. So let's see. I'm going to fake it and look up. And oh yes, I forgot. I told you already. Aaron Morris is going to be here on Proposition 106. That's Yes on 106 here in Phoenix. Thank you very much for viewing our show. Hope you can be back next week here, Thursday, 6 o'clock on the Chips and Salsa Show with Alice Lara and George Ortiz. Walk on. And walk on to you, YouTube. Thanks so much. Please share this link, YouTubers, okay? Share it to your Facebook page, email it, wherever you like. Tim's going to do that, I bet. You can tell him, if there's just a certain part, you can tell him, go to this, 48 and watch that, whatever you'd like. We appreciate all your support.